The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining me today for our informational webinar session on the ACUHO-I online course, Being a Resident Assistant 101. And my name is Lori Sabata. I work for ACUHO-I Central Office. I'm the education developer who worked with the course authors on actually building this online course and putting it together. And joining me in a little while will be Spencer Giese, who also assisted in the creation of this course. And so we just wanted to spend a couple minutes talking today, just kind of, running through sort of a demo of the course if you've not had a chance to see it yet, and then, answering any questions that you may have after that. So, but before I really get started, I want to make sure that everyone can see my screen and they can hear me talking. So I'm just going to do a quick tech check and just ask everyone to just kind of look at your control panel and on your screen, and you should see like a little hand there. It's like a little cartoon hand, like a raised hand. If you could just click that, that lets me know you can hear my voice and you can see my screen. You should be seeing the title slide, kind of purple with sort of like the yellow badge on there that says RA 101 online course. And I saw a couple of raised hands, so it sounds like, or looks like we're good to go. If at any time you should have an issue with being able to see the screen or hear, please go ahead and send me a quick chat at any time and just let either Spencer or I know that you're having some troubles, and we'll attempt to assist you. I'd like to kind of do one other thing too before I get started. I wondered if we can just here. I'm gonna unraise all the raised hands here and ask you to raise your hand if you have already taken RA 101 course and you're maybe looking to sort of take it again this year and maybe are tuning in to see what's new or what's changed or different. I'm just trying to get a feel for if all the folks online today are brand new to RA 101 and kind of where I should get started with my information sessions. So, okay, I do see one hand. Okay, great. Well, and perhaps, you may have some perspectives too on this, if you've used this course before, maybe on how you used it and maybe what worked well for you when you were using it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm trying to think. Oh, I am recording this as well. So if, by chance, maybe you might have to leave early, or if you have a colleague who, wanted to attend but couldn't, or you have someone you want to share this information with, we'll be sending out a YouTube link later on, and you'll be able to forward that to anyone that would like to view the presentation. So let's go ahead and just talk a little bit before we actually, jump into looking at the course. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the authors that put the course together. I just kind of hopefully can see it. I know that typeface is a little bit small on that slide, but I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to the 4 course authors who worked very hard on putting this course together. This will be our 3rd year running the course. And this might be a good time to mention that we have made throughout the time frame that we've been offering this course, we run an evaluation at the end. We take that feedback and try to make as many improvements to the course as we can. Also based on my own observations with working with all the site admins on the course, how to make things better. And we continuously improve the course in that way. We are looking at, we actually have some work that we're doing on an RA 201. I know a lot of people have questions about that. So, I think I could start by kind of saying that if you didn't already know this, but the content for RA 101 is really geared towards first-time RAs. And I think a big question that came up a lot on feedback surveys over the past years have been, what about my returning RAs? They need something. And so RA 201 is underway. It won't be released until later this year, but we're really excited to be able to offer that. So I just wanted to mention that as well. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Mary Beth and Shannon and Maureen and Lisa, who worked very, very hard to put this course together. And as you may or may not know, putting together online training content takes a lot of time and effort, and these individuals certainly put in the time and effort on putting together this course content, and it's really great. So what I typically start by doing at this point is just I'm going to roll over to the course now, and I'm going to drag that over to my screen. Hopefully you all are seeing that. You should be seeing a page that lists the course modules and just a listing of all of the different modules and the pages that are underneath that. And what I like to do is just kind of roll through it and give you a chance to sort of look at it. I'll give sort of an overview of, there's 4 main modules in it. So the main modules and then the topics that are included in those, and you'll be able to see them on the screen and follow along with me. And we'll take a little dive in and view some of the pages as well too, so you can actually see kind of what the content looks like. So so I'm going to start by doing that. So this isn't included in the 4 modules, but the overview is a module, and it basically just talks about how to take the course and navigating, and what to do when you need help, and who to email, how to get assistance. Copyright notice in there about, obviously, pretty standard language about copyright for the content. There is a course introduction that sort of gives a general course overview, and I'll go ahead and jump into that. And it just kind of, sort of sets the stage for the content and the experience to come. So it talks about the 4 modules. So the first one is the world around us. Obviously, the second one being an agent of your institution. The third module is keeping a cool, clear head. And then module 4, which I think is very important but often overlooked, and that has to do with self and self-care, and basically balancing, how do you balance the challenging role of an RA and all the time that takes, and also an academic load as well. So that sets the stage. You've already seen the page with the course authors. Goes over some learning outcomes. Talks about journal assignments in the course, and now is probably a good time to stop and talk about that. There are several different kinds of assignments in the course. There are some short quizzes. Often we'll introduce a concept and then try to have a checkpoint, where we sort of test the knowledge of a particular concept that we've introduced. They're very short quizzes, nothing really too intense. So we try to incorporate those kinds of things, knowledge checks into the course, and points where we ask the student to stop. You're reading on the screen, now you're going to stop and do something. So I try to keep them active in the course. The course is about, people say, how long does it take to take this course? I always say it's 10 hours of learning time, and that kind of takes people aback sometime. Well, whoa, that's a long time. But that isn't all on-time screen reading. There are some assignments in the course where you're going to be asked to go and maybe do some research, or maybe go someplace and interview someone or talk to someone. So, and again, give or take, depending on how long it might take an individual to read and do these things, it really may not take 10 hours, but I would definitely, I've even had some students call me and say, how long does it take? And, I'll say, 10 hours. And they're like, but it's due tomorrow. I'm like, well, you're definitely not going to want to start it the night before the day that it's due. Let's put it that way. So the journal assignments are meant to be self-reflective exercises. The prompts ask self-reflective type questions. We ask students they upload them. There's a text box that appears in the course. They type the answer into the text box, and then those appear into the gradebook, and I'll show you that a little bit later when we kind of go over some of the admin functions. Those appear as journal submissions in the gradebook, and then whoever the site admin is able to go in and read the journal submissions and then mark them complete and say, okay, yes, you did this. And so that's kind of what the journal is all about. There also is an option to have a Word document version of it here. Sometimes people would rather have, or site admins would rather have their RAs fill a Word document in, kind of like an actual journal, and then turn in the journal as a Word document at the end. That's just a personal preference on how you prefer to use it. I think most people use the online grading system. So that's a word about journal assignments, but talks about how to use those. Discussions are in the course. Again, these are somewhat self-reflective type questions. They're just your typical threaded discussion reply type activity, and these are not graded. These discussions are, so I just want to stop and pause a little bit, because we have, last year we had 3,000, over 3,000, I think it was something like 3,600 actual RAs take the course. Now, obviously, these RAs were from all different institutions throughout the world actually taking the course. And so when RAs are in the course, they're in as a cohort. So if you're from Washington University and you have, 26 RAs that are taking the course, those RAs will all be in a section together taking the course, and the discussions are sort of, they're just for that section. So the first version of the course, all the discussions, took place for all of the students that were in all of the different universities, which was kind of interesting. There were some good and bad things about that. But I think overall, I think that just became too unwieldy, and we were able to break it down by section. So that's how the discussions, and also the gradebook works by section also. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But when you have a site admin designated, then that admin will see grades only for your institution, not others, and you'll see discussions only for your institution. So that's a little bit about how discussions work in the course. And here we are at Module 1, the world around us, and you can see the learning objectives for that. And I'm going to kind of jump out into sort of like the main page with that lists sort of the page titles, so we can kind of jump around in Module 1 and you can see what some of the topics are. So it's really a lot about community and the big picture. It talks about, your campus and what it means to be a part of that community and building community, really looking into your institution, understanding it, knowing about it. It talks about your floor as a community, getting to know residents. It talks about making connections. Obviously, customer service is highlighted here, and I can just go through a few pages here. The concepts in RA 101 are intended to be as universal as possible. So I think one of the intentions was, when we started putting this content together, was to try to take concepts that were applicable to all or most institutions as much as possible, so that you would have time to offer that staff training ahead of time, before RAs would actually get to campus, because these were things that most RAs would need to know concepts, and it gets a little bit into policy and law in a broad sense. And then when you actually physically get to the institution, that would be time to talk about things that are more unique to your institution that wouldn't be included in the course. All of the content that's in the course at this time is not individually customizable to the institution, so you're not able to update or change or customize things to make them, it's like changing titles on pages or doing any branding or anything like that. We're not able to do it at this time. We do have a future version that's going to be coming out actually in the so this is the 2019-2020 term, as I call it. When we release it for 2021, it looks like we are going to be able to have that ability to do that. So I just wanted to mention that. So I'm just going to go back down and make sure that I get a chance to see all of the topics. So we talked about customer service skills, communication, knowing policy and procedures, professionalism, being a role model. So that's just a quick breeze through Module 1. Module 2 is about being an agent of your institution. So it's talking about what's ethical, what isn't, what's confidentiality, things like that. And we can dive down into Module 2 a little bit. So I mentioned confidentiality, ethics, identifying risk. You notice here, so we're going to talk about FERPA and policies, and then we have, it's US-based course participants only. So we did, one of the earliest pieces of feedback that we got was that, the course is very US-based. And at this time, I would say that's still broadly true. We have made some updates and modifications to make it less so. And again, in future iterations of the course, we're making more and more of an effort to be able to do that. But at this point, where we find something like a policy on FERPA that's very, very US specific, we try to sort of point that out so that maybe some of our users who are from other countries will know that that does not pertain to them. And again, other things are very specific to institutions as well. So, but we did try to stick to really the broader brush type policies. So we talk about that. We don't go into it ad nauseum. It's just we were trying to make it like just enough that you need to know, because there's a lot of information in here. Obviously, Title IX, violence against women. We offer throughout the course, we offer readings and additional resources if that interests folks. So one thing I want to mention too that you might be curious about. So I'm in an admin version of this course, so there's green checks here, but students wouldn't see those. But they are, so completion of the course. So they're required to view every page. Whether or not we know that they actually spent time reading the information on the page, we really don't know. We know that they took the quizzes. We know what they got on the quizzes. We're able to tell that. So we ask for at least every page to be open, and where there's a quiz activity, we ask for the quiz. They have to take the quiz to be able to, they can move on, but the course won't complete if they skip the quiz or they skip a page. At the end of the course, and we'll see this a little bit later, there is a final exam. The final exam is a requirement. It's a blanket requirement. And again, this is not editable or changeable per institution, is that the course is passed with a 75% or better to be able to complete the course. And what a completion means is that the course, once a student has gone through the course and viewed all of the pages and they pass the final exam with a 75% or better, then the course auto-completes, and that's what initiates status of complete. And you'll be able to see that on a report. And then also that would trigger the release of the certificate of completion. So I just wanted to explain that a little bit. Now, I can see that I have a few questions here, so I'm just going to kind of stop and take a look and see if I can answer some of those questions. Oh, somebody said the audio connection is spotty. Okay, let me see if there's anything I can do to improve that. Oh, they're saying my audio is going in and out. Okay. Let me know if that's any better. Does it sound better? I guess the only way you can answer is if you type something in the question box. It is better. Okay, good. Everyone's saying yes. Okay, so I made a slight adjustments. I'm glad I saw that. Sorry about that. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so I hope you were able to make most of that out, what I was saying. Going down then farther into this module, we talk about ethics, being a team player. We do have some video examples throughout the course too. I can click into this and show that. So there are some video examples. And then we do have some discussions that are arranged around those. So let's move on to module 3. So this one is cool, clear heads. So this talks about safety and security. We do have some reading assignments in here as well. I'll go ahead and show that, where we ask them to do some reading. Let's see, so informing the right people, talking about doing rounds. This is where we get into incident reporting, writing good and bad, so that we give some examples of good and bad incident reports. I think there is another video example here, one that's taken from Harry Potter. I don't know if anyone's a Harry Potter fan, but it's a scene with the Whomping Willow in it where the tree goes into the into the Whomping Willow Tree, and then they're asked to write an incident report on that, so it's kind of a neat activity. Medical emergencies, there are some case studies in here as well, which I think are kind of neat, and the questions are asked about that. So we have really, as I mentioned before, tried to make it not so much just reading, but try to really weave in some stopping and thinking and doing as well. So again, you're probably getting a sense for this isn't something you want to start the night before. There's quite a bit of content here. We're not even all through it all yet. Conflict management, communication, and then resources for conflict management. There's a journal assignment at the end of that talks about 6 steps to conflict resolution, which is a really good exercise. Then we get into module 4, which I just think is an overlooked but very important module, talking about taking care of yourself, good and bad self-care, which sometimes, can seem like, this is something everyone should know how to do, but we know all too often how difficult this can be sometimes. So this module is all about that, and how to keep academic work as a priority, how to balance time, money, and then at the end they're asked to write a personal mission statement to guide their life. So it's actually a really good activity. So at the end of the course, I mentioned the final exam, and I'll go ahead and show you that so you can kind of take a look at it and just get a feel for what kind of questions are on the final exam. Now, you can, I can help out too if anyone wanted to, and I see someone just asked a question, are you able to show us more of the content in the modules, particularly for the incident response? Yes, I can set you up with a demo of the course if anyone was interested in seeing a demo of the course. It's a very short demo, just for a couple of days, so you want to try to arrange it for a time when you can kind of sit down and look through it. You can, I know it's awfully hard to really get a feel for the content in the course, so I'm just showing you screens very quickly. My email is I'm going to show you a slide that has my email at the end of this presentation, and you can go ahead and email me and let you know, and I can help you out with getting a demo set up. So anyway, I'll scroll through these questions really quick so you can get an idea. So the final exam, it's not very long. I think it's about 10 questions. But it's kind of designed so that, and I know a couple people, when they demoed the course, said, oh, I tried to take the final exam, first to see if I could pass it without taking the course, and it was harder than they thought it would be. And I know even when I took it at the end, I was like, I need an answer key for this, or I'm going to have to go back and, find the answer. So it's not like it's impossible. I've never had anyone say, like, I keep taking it and I can't pass it. They get multiple attempts to pass it, but it does not give them the answers. So they have to eventually pass it with a 75% or better. So that's kind of how the final exam works. And so once they complete that, and as long as they've opened all of the pages and done all of the activities, then the course should auto-complete for them. Okay, so I'm just looking to see if there's any other questions before I wanted to move on. I know I'm rambling on, and in the interest of time here, I wanted to move on to talking about some of the admin functions of the course. I know this is an area where quite a few people have questions. So let's talk about the admin functions and then kind of how the course works. You might be wondering, like, how will my RAs take this course? So what happens is, should you purchase the course, and we have different tiers too, so I don't know if you had a chance to look at the website, but if you go on our website and take a look at it, you'll see that we have, depending on how many RAs you have, we have different tiers. So you could have 0 to 30, so if you have 0 to 30 RAs, and 30 to 60, 61 to 100, I think it's split up kind of like that. And then you would want to, try to figure out how many RAs and then figure out which tier to purchase. And in that group, though, you would want to figure out how many admins you have. And what the admins are, I keep talking about that, is you can designate an admin for your site that can actually go in and actually look at the gradebook and, figure out who, is in the course, and they monitor the progress of the students going through the course and the grades, and sort of just administer the course. So in that group that you're looking to purchase, you would definitely want to factor in how many admins you would want to have administering the course. And I see a couple questions. So how many admins can you have for each site? You can have as many as you want. If you need 10 admins, you can have 10 admins. But so how the course works is you'll get, so if you say, I'm going to get the 0 to 30 tier, you'll get like 30, they're called tokens or coupons. So you just want to make sure if I have 30 IRAs and I have, 3 admins, then you want to make sure you get enough for 33. Hopefully that makes sense, because admins will need to actually use the coupons code that you get actually is what sort of triggers the course enrollment. So what we do is we send out a set of instructions to you that basically said, okay, here's how you set up the course, and let us know who your admins are, and here's the coupon, and here's the instructions. So each RA will have to they'll have to log into our system, they'll have to create a profile if they don't have one already, which most of the time they usually don't. And then they will have to use this coupon code to sort of activate their course. So it's almost like a little mini purchase of the course. And we have ready-made instructions provided on how to do this. And then they go in and they actually start taking the course. So they log in and then they can just go right through it. And then someone asked if there's a tracking function for admins to see the progress of RAs as they move through the course. Yes, there is. I think I'll show that to you now. So see how I did that kind of fast, but I clicked on something called grades. And now it's going to take a minute to load because I'm an admin, so it's going to show me everybody's grades. So most of the students, you can see this is from last year, have concluded the course. So this is the gradebook, and see how, so the students are lined down here. And so this is showing all sections, but as an admin, you would only see your section. You don't have the ability to see grades for other institutions, which is a good thing. So what you would do then is you would be able to monitor. So across the top here are the journal assignments that we kind of looked at, and any quizzes, the final exam. And then you are able to drill down and take a look at the actual entries. So we'll take a look at this one. Again, it's going to take a minute to load because I'm an admin, so it's going to try to load all of them. And when it eventually does pop up, it'll show you how you're able to scroll through. And there will be the names of the different students here, and you can actually, for this assignment, you can scroll through and see the assignments for everyone that submitted that assignment once it loads. There was another question here I'm going to answer in the meantime. So how long does it typically take for the course to be administered and completed, semester, year, summer? So I would say the majority of people have the course start, I want to say, let's see, last year I remember being at the annual conference in early July, and that was the busiest it ever was. So I would say you probably have them start in early July, and they're done by September. So 6 weeks. Oh, and one thing that's important to mention as well is that the students, the RAs, have to finish it in 6 weeks. So this sort of coupon that they have, when they start it, from the minute they start it, they have 6 weeks to finish it. Now that doesn't mean that if I have 30 RAs and 10 of them start on July 1st and 10 of them start on July 30th, that they're separate. So the people that start on July 30th still have 6 weeks. The person that started on July 1st still has 6 weeks. They're independent of each other, but it's still just 6 weeks. It says 8 weeks on the website. You know what? You might be right. It may be 8 weeks. I'll have to check and see. We may have extended that. Maybe it was originally 6 and it's 8 now. If it says 8, then it's 8. And that's also not to say, too, that sometimes we get into situations where I know I had one site that I was working with that had students that were international, or a large portion of them were. They needed more than that. They needed, I can't remember what, but it was an extra couple weeks. And so we can work with that, too. There's a way to, expand that and work with it. We try not to do it too much just because, a lot of times from your end too, you want them to get in and out. You don't want them in the course for 3 months not finishing it. You really want to get people in and out of the course. So for the most part, the time frame is a pretty good one, but we can work with you on that. This finally popped up, so you can see how you can view the assignment. You can grade it complete. You can make comments on it. Probably shouldn't have done that because that's probably someone's assignment. And then you would submit it and just move on. And you're able to kind of scroll through for this assignment and say, oh, this student doesn't have one. This person does. This is a concluded student. So that's kind of how the gradebook works. It's actually it's fairly simple. And so that's the tracking function. Here's another question. If there are reference materials or resources included, is it possible to download or access? Yes, so you can download them. There are lots of references and they're links and you can download them. Also, once a student concludes, it means, so as long as they can log in to the system, it's a learning management system based off of Canvas. I don't know, many of your campuses may have Canvas. And if you do, you'll probably be pleased to hear that because everyone will be sort of familiar with how Canvas works. So as long as they can log into Canvas, they can see their content. It'll roll up under completed courses, but they can always click on the course and they can see the content. The only thing they can't do after it concludes or if they expire, after the 8 weeks, is if they haven't taken the final exam or they didn't do the discussions, they can't go back and finish that. Although, I can always fix that on my end too, because sometimes we get someone who, didn't finish, but they really need to. I can restore it, they can finish, and then conclude. So I can do all sorts of things on my end. So I hope that answers that question. So the answer is yes. I know what a lot of people do sometimes too. They'll purchase the course. So it starts in March, and it sort of has an end date in the middle of February, and we do that because we need to refresh the course, for the next year. Is they'll buy it and they'll have their professional team kind of go through it first, kind of figure it out, and then they launch it to their RAs. That seems to have been a really good formula for a lot of sites, and that seems to work really well. That way, that seems like if there's the professional staff has taken the course, they know what the content is. That seems to work really well. Let's see. We talked about how to administer the course. We talked about admins. We talked about the gradebook. I talked about how discussion posts work. I talked a little bit about, I'm going to just pull up the website really quick to show you if you haven't. Now, sounds like some of you might be on the website looking at it already, which is a good thing, but I'm going to log out first and show you. So if you look under online learning, courses and certificates, you'll find RA101 under here, and it'll give you some information. And I think that the tiers they're back up now. So this was what I was talking about before, where I said you could purchase them based on how many RAs you have. The one thing I just wanted to mention, I probably should put this right on the website here somewhere, make sure you include your admins in that count. So there's a lot of information here. There's also frequently asked questions. There's also a video too that you can watch, which actually it's about an 8-minute video. It's kind of long, but it kind of shows you a little bit of a demo of the course without having to really take a demo. So you can just kind of watch it at your leisure, and you can pause it and stop and look at screens. So that's on there too if you want to take a look at that. I mentioned that I was going to show my email at the end. So if you need to contact either Spencer or I to ask us any questions, please feel free to use either of these emails. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. And are there any other questions at this time? I'll just kind of open it up. I want to make sure I'm just going to read through the questions too to make sure that I didn't miss any. I think I got most of the questions that were asked now. And again, I am recording this. If you if you'd like to see a demo, we're happy to do that. If you want to go and take a look at that YouTube video that's on our website, that's also really helpful. Again, you may go back and talk amongst yourselves after this and think of some questions and want to go ahead and email us and ask us any questions. Happy to answer any questions I see one more question. In regards to incidents, do you teach about confrontation tips and how to follow up with students? Let's go back and take a look at that. So let me pull that back up. So kinds of conflict, resources, strategies for mediating or managing conflict. I'm just kind of trying to scroll through some of the pages so you can take a look at it a little bit. Because a lot of readings. I'm going backwards through it, so that might be, I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's what we have in conflict management. So I don't know if that was helpful. But again, if you want to sign up for a demo, you might be able to take a little bit closer look at it. So do site administrators have access to the quiz scores, grade books, and all the things after 8 weeks? Yes. So site admins can have access for longer than 8 weeks. We should probably, upfront. So what happens when you, hopefully you can hear me okay. What happens when you designate who your site admins are? It's like I do all that manually. So it's like once we get everything set up for you, you say, okay, these 3 people are my site admins. I go and set that up, and then that's the time where you might say, okay, well, how long do you want access for? And then I'll go in and I'll make sure that the registrations, reflect like, oh, we want them to have it for 16 weeks or 32 weeks or 365 days or something like that. We would go in and set all that up. So yes, you definitely will have access to that longer than the 8 weeks. We do not have a section on suicidal ideation, but that is a whole module in RA 201, which I know is not helpful to you now if you're purchasing the course now. But RA 201 that's one of our primary topics. Able to edit titles to match institutional roles. I'm assuming that might mean edit titles as in on the page. Oh, you mean like, so in some places it says RA, in some places, right, yes. We do not have the ability to customize the content to do that. We've tried to be as universal as possible with using that. There is a page in the beginning that talks about all the different titles, but we primarily use RA throughout the course. So that is definitely, that's an issue that's been brought up before, particularly with respect to other countries, because it can be very different. So that is something we're definitely attempting to address in this next round. Specific launch date for 201. So we're looking at October. Section on residential curriculum for RA 201. One doesn't actually come to my mind, but let me jot it down and take a look and see if that's something we're looking at. I definitely know that the suicidal ideation is one because that's a big topic. Residential curriculum, not sure. Let's see. Do you find universities struggle with the risk management section as each university approaches it differently? I haven't had anyone call that out specifically and say that they struggled with that specifically. So I'm not exactly sure how difficult that has been at some institutions. It's not something that I've had really come up specifically. We do address some mental health topics in the course. We also have a mental health course. It's not a huge section in here. Again, that's something we address more so in RA 201 than RA 101. Someone had asked earlier, when is RA 201 coming out? Everyone's asking that. We know that we really need to get that out. So we're looking at October for that one at the latest. Again, if you would like a demo to take a look at it and see how in-depth things get with mental health topics, we can definitely take a look at that. You can definitely take a look at that. Just waiting to see if any other questions pop up. Oh, here's a couple more. Just expanding my window. Oh, no, I guess maybe that might be it. Well, I'm glad to see so many active questions. Do you know when an institution customizes, how do they go about it? They simply give instructions to access in a different. So, I'm not sure if I quite understand the question. So the question is asking, do you know when an institution customizes, how do they go about it? So we, at this point, if you're talking about content, specific content, we probably do not, I should say probably, we don't have the ability to customize the content at this time. That is something that's definitely coming out in the next term, in the 2021 term. But we don't have time, or not time, we don't have the ability to be able to customize the content at this time. I hope that answers the question. A few sections of the self-care module, yes, we could go into that. Oops, I think I went past it. Okay, here, let's go ahead and, it's actually not that long, so I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of scroll through it at a hopefully slow enough rate so that you might be able to see it a bit more. Some of these are actually, some of these links here are actually good, really helpful. Go back here. So I'm an admin on this page, so it won't look like this in the student view. Sorry if I'm going through this too fast. Just trying to give you an idea of what's in this module. And this is that journal assignment I had referenced earlier about writing a personal mission statement at the end of that module. So someone asked if there was a way to see other institutions that use the course, to see if they have any peer institutions that use the course. I have a list of institutions. I could email them to you if that's helpful, and then you could take a look. I think there's about 117 from last year. So I'm not sure how much in total, but I could provide that to you if that is helpful. So if you'd like to email me, I can definitely provide a list of institutions to you. It may even be reasonable, if you wanted to reach out to an institution to see if, you might want to collaborate with them to see like how to, I know that we've done that before. Sometimes we have other webinars throughout the year, sort of like user group webinars, and that's sort of an opportunity for, you get a few people in there, and it's interesting to see, admins from different sites share how they've used the course, and if they had an issue with one part or other, how they got around it and made it work. So I hope this was helpful. I know we've coming up on the hour here, so it looks like the questions are kind of starting to slow down. So again, please feel free to reach out to us on email. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And thank you for spending time with me this afternoon. Sorry about the audio issues that we had earlier, so hopefully that got better. And we have recorded this, so if you want to go back and view any parts of it or share it, you'll definitely be able to do that. So thank you again, everyone, for tuning in and spending time with me today. I hope this was really helpful, and I hope to hear from you about RA 101. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great afternoon.